sustainability of our health program. Honorable Speaker, the proposed Ebola treatment and isolation unit at Laikipia Air Base is part of the 23 similar units to be established in the country as part of our preparedness and response. This facility will jointly be run by the government of Kenya and the US government under the command of the Air Force Commander, the base commander, and the entire medical team of the Kenya Defense Forces working together with the Ministry of Health. This proposed facility reaffirms Kenya's position as a medical hub in the East Africa region with the capacity to offer specialized care for complex infectious diseases like Ebola. I must also inform the House that aspects of the matter relating to the alleged international health agreements and containment arrangements are now before court. Accordingly, and in keeping with the doctrine of sub judice and standing orders of this House, I will avoid discussing the merits of any active litigation. But I will, however, continue to provide this House with the government's public health position and preparedness status. Honorable Speaker, you also asked about the establishment and accessibility of the Ebola disease control and isolation centers. Honorable Speaker, the House asked whether Ebola disease control and isolation centers have been established in the country. And I want to say this. I hasten to add that there is a significant presence of Kenyans in the affected regions of both DRC and Uganda. Many Kenyans work in Uganda and do business both in Uganda and DRC. And two of our leading banks, KCB and Equity, employ Kenyans who live in that region. In addition, Kenya has approximately 450 specialized KDF officers and servicemen who are in DRC under the MONUSCO peacekeeping mission. Any of these Kenyans could be exposed and could require a quarantine and isolation facility back home in Kenya. The government has established undesignated isolation and treatment capacity as part of our national preparedness. These include, I said, our national referral facilities, our county designated sites, temporary holding areas for points of entry, county isolation facilities. These facilities are being progressively verified for quality, for safety, and for readiness. And I want to reiterate that all such facilities are established for the protection of the people of Kenya and all persons within the Kenyan borders. They are not only foreign facilities, they are not for foreign facilities, they are not exclusive facilities, they are not facilities reserved for any nationality, they are public health assets established and coordinated under the authority of the government of Kenya. In the event of a suspected case, the response will be guided by medical triage, exposure risk, clinical need, and public health protocols. A Kenyan citizen, a foreign national, a refugee, a diplomat, an expatriate, or a traveler will be managed according to the same public health principles: safe isolation, testing, clinical care, contact tracing, prevention of further transmission. Our objective as government is to protect communities, to protect healthcare workers and the country. When a case is detected, the safest place to manage it is within a properly equipped isolation and treatment facility under the controlled conditions. Finally, Honorable Speaker, you have told me to give guidance on the public health guidance. Honorable Speaker, any person who develops fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhea after recent travel to the affected areas or one of their community members, after contact with a suspected case, should seek medical attention immediately and report through the 719 public health hotline. Honorable Speaker, our readiness assessment gaps and resource requirements are all provided in this document, and I think I have provided the agreements, the documents, but just to conclude, so that I take questions from members, Honorable Speaker and members, it's very important, you play a very important role in the public health protection of our country. Misinformation during disease outbreaks can cause panic, can cause stigma, can delay health seeking and resistance to public health measures. I therefore request members of this House to support the Ministry of Health by amplifying accurate information, encouraging early health seeking behavior, supporting screening at border points of entry, and urging the public to use the official 719 hotline. Honorable Speaker, I want to repeat for emphasis, Kenya has no confirmed case of Ebola virus disease. Our surveillance systems are active. Our laboratories are functional. Our points of entry are screening travelers. Our rapid response teams are on standby. Our health workers are being trained. Our isolation facilities are being verified and strengthened. And the government of Kenya remains fully in control of the preparedness and the response architecture. Our approach is guided by science, the law, the national interest, the public health protection, and the international obligation that as a country we have. We will continue to act transparently. We will continue to act decisively. We will continue to respond responsibly in order to protect Kenyans and all persons within our borders. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I'm ready to respond to any questions from the honorable members.
Thank you.
We have a lot of reservations, and especially concerns from the people we lead, because we are representatives of the people. Speaker, it is clear that this Ebola is rare and fatal disease. And common sense will dictate that if this disease starts in a particular place, it will be natural that you just contain it where it has started. I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary. He has said that the government of Kenya and the government of the US signed an agreement way back in 2015. And in 2019, there was Corona, which was a global problem. We didn't see the US come out, the way they have come out now, to construct a Corona isolation center or a center to help the Corona people who are infected by Corona in Laikipia or anywhere in this country. And if they have, probably the Cabinet Secretary can tell us. About this Ebola thing, I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary. You know, it's very unfortunate that we saw a US Secretary of State in Washington declaring that they will not allow even one single case of a corona-infected US citizen, I mean Ebola, set foot in America. So if they're infected in Congo, they will not take them to treat them in America. They will not treat them in Congo. They will bring them to Laikipia. And you know, members, allow me to say this. You know, the people of Laikipia, we have never healed from the aftermath of colonization. We still feel that even today we are still being colonized, because half of our land went to the British colonizers, and it later on went to their citizens, and we have never regained a single inch of the ranches they took from us. And now, they want to bring Corona. And you know, I mean Ebola. And you know, I'm just saying because I represent people who are concerned that if Americans are to be flown to Laikipia Air Base to be treated there, what happens if this disease, God forbid, leaks out and probably people around Nanyuki are infected by Ebola? Will the American government take charge and treat the Kenyan citizens the way they would like to treat the American citizens? That is one.
You've made your point. There are many interests,
let
Sarah.
me finish.
I can't allow you to continue making a speech.
I'm finishing, finally. The concern also is, we have a lot of tourism in Laikipia, and as I speak now, there is a lot of cancellations by the people who are traveling to the lodges of Laikipia. Can the cabinet secretary tell us how are they going to communicate to the citizens? Because probably most of this mayhem is because of miscommunication. Whose message is it that the citizens are getting miscommunicated by people who are not in authority to give that information to them? Why should the people who are in authority didn't give the correct information to the citizens of Kenya and the citizens of Laikipia?
Thank you, Sarah. Mary Masse. Avoid the temptation to make speeches. Ask questions.
Thank you,
Yes.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity because I'm from the border to Uganda, and my people are more at risk. My question is, I have listened to the PS, to the CS, I'm very sorry, to the CS. I have a concern. The ministry officials were in Busia County, Teso South at Alupe Hospital with a proposal to convert Alupe Hospital into an isolation center for managing Ebola. Honorable Speaker, I do not have any other hospital to serve the people of Teso South. None. It is only Alupe Hospital. So I want to tell the CS that we will resist, that Alupe Hospital cannot be made an isolation center for Ebola. Whereas I support the government initiative for preparedness to protect the people of Busia because we are at the border, let another venue be identified to build that isolation center, but Alupe will not be converted, Honorable Speaker.
Robert Mbui. Minister, I hope you are recording the members and the questions.
I have to.
Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, listening to the CS, he was very clear when he said that Kenya has no cases of Ebola. And Mr. Speaker, the ministry should endeavor to ensure that Kenyan citizens are safe, because that is the purpose of this ministry. Now, we know that Ebola is highly contagious. There is this agreement that he says there is, because of sub judice, he cannot maybe table it before us. But Mr. Speaker, I want to ask him to just clarify. In that agreement, which is between Kenya and the US...
He didn't say that. He didn't say he cannot table. In fact, the
because
agreement
he has not tabled, Mr. Speaker.
The agreement is here.
Oh, we have it, okay.
Yes.
Or the court case, the matters
He said
that
he
are
will not delve
contained in the
into
court case.
matters sub judice.
So, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to just find out, where in that agreement does it say that we can expose Kenyan citizens at the expense so that we can be able to save citizens of the US? It's very important that he points out that, because in my opinion, I think that cannot have been something that this House would have passed. And Mr. Speaker, finally, I also want him to clarify, is it true that this center that is supposed to be built in Mount Kenya region is supposed to be only meant to be used by US citizens and not Kenyans? He needs to clarify that for us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Ndindi Nyoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this chance. and direct to the point. I have listened to the CS, and there is actually no space in his speech about the view of Kenyans. I'm yet to meet one single Kenyan who is in support of having this quarantine in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. And it is important for the government to know that the government exists for the welfare of Kenyans. And Kenyans know when their space is being cropped, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the US budget in terms of health is 860 times ours. Their technology is better in all respects, including biotech, Honorable Speaker. They have better capacity to handle these kind of issues than Kenya. Honorable Speaker, while the CS is here, I would request him. Kenyans have spoken in one voice. We do not want that facility of Ebola here in Kenya. Please listen to the Kenyan voices. And Honorable Speaker, as the CS is here, the CS should actually bite himself and the obligations to what the Kenyans are looking forward to. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, in terms of the fragility of our health sector, and also listening to some officials from the US proclaiming clearly that they do not want any case of Ebola in their country, how reckless would the government be in doing exactly the same that which the country that is the US do not want in their soil? As Kenyans, we refuse. The government must listen to Kenyans and desist from having this quarantine in Kenya.
Yes, Mama Zamzam.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi pia niweze kumwelezea waziri. Ndio, Ebola na kujitayarisha ni kitu kizuri sana, kwa sababu hawa ni majirani zetu, wengine wanatuuzia kahawa umumu, wengine wanafanya nini, lakini iwe ni kama kukinga wa Kenya peke yake, waziri. Lakini waziri, ikiwa, na mimi nataka niwaambie hata wale wabunge walikuwa hapa, kwa sababu inasemekana hiyo ilipita hapa bunge hapa, na Ndindi Nyoro ulikuwa hapa kwa hii bunge. Kwa hiyo ni vitu ambavyo mngeweza kukataa wakati ule, ili isiweze kupita, mumpatie rais wakati mgumu. Waziri, mimi napenda kusema tu, kama Mwamerika amekataa kule kwake, hapa Kenya tukubali, na nasikia katika counties 20 ambao walikuwa wamekubali, Mombasa ilikuwa moja wao. Kama mama Mombasa, sitaki kuona mzungu kule anatibiwa Ebola. Iwe kama itajengwa ni ya kuangalia watu wetu peke yake, waziri. Sisi ni kitu kizuri na tuna support kama tuwe na preparedness. Manake sisi ni majirani, huwezi jua, na wanasema ina spray na unyevunyevu, either through sex ama maji ama mate. Hizo vitu tumesikia. Lakini sasa huwezi jua kitu yote za kutokea, Mheshimiwa Spika, kitu chochote chaweza kutokea. Na ikitokea iwe ni sisi wa Kenya peke yetu, isiwe kuwa ni mtu mwingine anakuja kutibiwa hapa, waende kwao ama warudi Kongo, kule walipata ugonjwa watibiwe Kongo. Asante sana Spika.
Yes, Ichungwa.
Honorable Speaker, first I don't know whether Honorable Zamzam, but the Deputy Speaker tells me Honorable Zamzam is actually right, because the Minister did
But
speak
that's
about
what the Minister said.
bodily fluids.
She simply said what the Minister said.
So bodily fluids
Except
could
the
be
Minister,
transmitted in many ways.
the Minister didn't speak in such good Swahili. Or at all.
So thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me first begin by thanking the Minister for this statement, because as Honorable Sarah Correa has said, is indeed very elaborate. And also to note, Honorable Speaker, that at the time this agreement was tabled in this House, I highly suspect the Honorable Aden Duale, as leader of majority, is the one who tabled this report in 2015. And the subsequent one tabled in 2022 was tabled by the Honorable Kimunya, my predecessor, as leader of majority. And it is true that the agreement between the Republic of Kenya and the United States was tabled, debated, and ratified by this House. Therefore, even as we speak, I know there is a temptation, Honorable Speaker, to speak to the gallery. And I wanted to begin by asking the CS to clarify just one thing that he has already said in his statement, but which many of us probably did not hear, or we have blocked our ears from hearing it. And because I have the privilege of having a copy of this statement here, Honorable Speaker, the CS did state that the proposed Ebola treatment and isolation unit at the Laikipia Air Base is part of the 23 similar units to be established in the country as part of our preparedness and response. So I would want first CS clarify to us and to the country that we are not establishing one isolation center at Laikipia Air Base. The one at Laikipia Air Base is one amongst 23 others. Two honorable CS, including some of the ones, the minister did name a few, including one in Busia, was it Alupe or somewhere?
Order. Gone.
Two, Honorable Speaker, I want the minister to clarify to us and to the country something again that he has said in this statement, that this isolation center is not being established for foreigners exclusively. The minister has said that we have 2 Kenyan banks with Kenyans, our sons and daughters working in the DRC, some in Uganda. We have 450 of our armed men, our armed officers, who have given their lives to protect our lives in this country and the region, our region of peace. Should any of those 450 of our officers, our sons and daughters in DRC, God forbid, catch the Ebola virus, where shall we take them? Do we take them to America? Do we leave them to die in the Congo forest? Or do we establish isolation centers as any responsible government and administration would do to make sure that should you, Honorable Speaker, this weekend, I traveled to Rwanda. Honorable Speaker, I traveled to Rwanda as a Kenyan.
Yes, Millie, what is
Any
the point
other
of order?
Kenyan would have traveled to Congo.
Yes, Millie.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I had to interrupt the majority leader, especially now that I'm in leadership of the broad-based. But I'm just wondering, is the honorable member in order to imply that the United States of America is looking for clarification? I am not saying, yes. Mr. Speaker, I plead the 5th Amendment. I just want to know from the...
Okay.
Honorable Speaker, in direct response to my sister, Honorable Millie, I am very well versed with our standing orders. I would never allude to the responsibility of a friendly nation on the floor of this House. I will not do that. But my point was, Honorable Speaker, back to my point, that as a responsible country, should we or should we not have isolation centers? Because this disease, we can't run away from the fact that it is there, and it is there in our neighborhood, in this region. Therefore, the question that I wanted the CS to clarify,
yes.
And I'm saying this, Honorable Speaker, deliberately in a leading manner, so that the CS clarifies for us and for the nation, this isolation center, from what I read in his statement, you know, Honorable Speaker, the problem is that members don't listen, like the member for Aldai is making noise and distracting me. And that is why maybe we may have missed some of the issues the CS has said. Because my understanding, and that is the clarification I sought, was that this isolation center is for preparedness, even to cater for Kenyans who may catch the disease, whether it is a staff of KCB, Equity Bank, or one of our armed officers who are working in DRC. Should they catch the disease, for instance, the military, The natural thing would be if I was a commander-in-chief or the CDF, airlift anyone in an isolated manner to the airbase, to the isolation center there, to be treated there. But a truck driver, Honorable Speaker, who catches the disease in DRC, in Goma, and probably is detected at the Busia border. Is there a facility at the Busia border? Because I have read about the laboratory testing there. Maybe among us, the 23, the CS should also clarify where are these other 23 centers to be established? Do we have them around the border with Uganda and where the trucks are passing, both legal and the illegal crossings? Because I see in his statement he's spoken about the legal crossings. But there are also illegal border points. What are we doing? Lastly, CS, on your preparedness, you have spoken about the 100 contact tracing. We're at about 100%, 87% on laboratory readiness, rapid response teams at 90%, infection prevention and control at 56%. But you have also told us that we have kits for the first 200 suspected cases. And that is where preparedness comes in, Honorable Speaker, and I hope the CS can tell us, have you then prepared? Because I've also seen your request, you are saying the first 100 cases will cost about 2.686 billion. Is this money already provided for in the budget? Or should we, as we go to the budget process, now factor additional resources for this preparedness for Ebola? Because the first 200, if we learned anything from COVID, to get from 0 to 1,000 cases would take less than 3-4 weeks. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I would just seek those clarifications. And Honorable Speaker, let me just close by saying this. Ebola is a dangerous disease from what we have seen. But as a country, we must be prepared. And those isolation centers ought to be there, but they cannot be exclusively for others to use without Kenyans. And I think that's the very critical clarification. Because, Honorable Speaker, you know, in closing, this country, as Michael Joseph once told us, we have peculiar habits. Now, as politicians, many of us are very good experts in Ebola. And many Kenyans, almost all Kenyans are experts in Ebola. Let us hear from the experts, including the doctors here.
Waziri, let him respond to those. But before that, Minister, allow me to acknowledge your children, students in the galleries. In the speaker's gallery, we have Githunguri Girls School from Kandara, Muranga. We have St. Musingo High School from Ikolomani, Kakamega. Students, when your school is mentioned, you stand up to be acknowledged. In the public gallery, we have Kapsimbeyo School from Kuresoi South, Nakuru. USIU Africa, I believe there are students from Roysambu, Nairobi. Masjid Al-Amen Academy from Starehe, Nairobi. Gijiwe Methodist Fellowship from South Imenti, Meru. And Githurai Mixed School, Ruiru, Kiambu. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to Parliament. Minister, you can proceed to respond. Thereafter, we'll take another round, which will be the last one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am ready to answer the valid questions by our honorable members, my colleagues. But Honorable Speaker, we are dealing with a very abnormal situation. And I want the House to look at the Public Health Act, Section 35 and Section 36. That mandates the Ministry of Health to take all the necessary action to protect and safeguard the safety of our citizens, our visitors, and all those who live within the borders of our country from any of the infectious diseases. To my sister, Honorable Sarah Koreri, but before even Honorable Speaker answer that question, first I think for information, we have 12 counties which are very high risk. These counties are Nairobi, Mombasa, Uasin Gishu, Busia, Kisumu, Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, West Pokot, Turkana, Homa Bay, and Migori. And this is because of the air, the road, transport, and the northern corridor. Then we have got high risk. The first one was very high risk. The high risk counties are 13. These are Vihiga, Kakamega, Nakuru, Kericho, Nandi, Kiambu, Machakos, Makueni, Kilifi, Taita Taveta, Isiolo, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Garissa. Honorable Speaker, again, for the information of the House, as of today, we have designated, verified 3 major hospitals as treatment centers. Kenyatta National Hospital, the Kenya National Police Hospital, MTRH in Eldoret. Secondly, we have also identified that we are in the process of completing the isolation, the treatment center of 2 hospitals in Busia. And I want to urge my sister, Mary Emase, even before COVID, the people of Busia and the country as a large, under the Ministry of Health, agreed that Alupe Hospital, a research center, is one of the very few infectious research hospitals. So in terms of qualification, that hospital is the most qualified because it's a research and infectious. Where have we done that? So in Busia, we have Alupe Sub-County Hospital, Referral Hospital, and we have Kocholie Sub-County Hospital. The reason why we picked on those 2, you know, that is where the biggest
for
crossing.
For the record, it's called Kocholia, not
Kocholia. Kocholia. That is where the epicenter in terms of crossing from either DRC, our tracks, and the movement are. But we are doing assessment of these sites in the following counties. And Honorable Speaker, under the Public Health Act, we don't need to do public participation. We are not going to consult citizens. Even members of parliament here, when they fall sick, they rush to their doctor to make sure they get the best treatment. So this epidemic does not require any consultation. Tomorrow, God forbid, if Ebola is found in this country, this House will call me back here to this chair to ask in our country. Honorable Speaker, on Laikipia Air Base is one of the 23 quarantine isolation center we are building. And we will not stop it. Why we are building? We are building in the air base, far from even, and there are a number of reasons why. The runway in Laikipia is one of the longest runway. That is where we have KDF medical team. That is why even our 450 Kenyans who are serving today under the UN, our special forces, the quick response unit. I'm the Speaker, I was a Minister for Defense. I went to Ituri. I know all those areas. Those who have gone to Lumumbashi. Kenyans, the biggest hospitals in DRC are run by Kenyans, are owned by Kenyans. So we must protect, Mr. Speaker. So Laikipia will protect both Kenyans and the US. Honorable Speaker, when we had the COVID, And some of us were members of parliament here. The UN, the US, and many other international bodies built a hospital in Nairobi Hospital, a UN specialized hospital to deal with COVID. There was no noise that time. We have a responsibility to
Honorable
protect
Kiamba,
residents.
let him respond.
Honorable Speaker,
first.
on what the Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, said, that if it was said by the Minister, the Secretary of Health, I will respond. But I think that is an area for diplomats. The best person to respond to this House is the PCS. Because if it was my colleague, C.S. Kennedy, Alupe have answered very well. Laikipia we will build. Honorable Dini Nyoro, I think you are a bit very unfair. Because if all counties refuse to host isolation centers, the way you are suggesting, where will the Kenyans who will be infected, God forbid, go? I mean, as a leader, I don't think that way we can be irresponsible. And I agree with you, Madam Zamzam. Semen is part of the fluid. You are right. You are right. I saw people laughing at her. Body fluids. When we talk of body fluids, there are different types. Semen is one of the body fluids. So Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, I really want to urge you, my very good friend, if we say every county refuses, then where are we going to treat Kenyans? Are we going to treat them up in the air? We as a government have a responsibility. We can still even create another isolation center in one of our barracks in any part of the country. If today it was in Mordika in Garissa, in Isiolo, so it will treat both Kenyans and foreigners. And please, let us not politicize it. The document that we signed, and it was for the good of our country. It's the good of our country. It was good for our country. Kenya, Honorable Speaker, is number 2 in terms of healthcare delivery. South Africa is ahead of us. And very soon, even the US that you are praising, having a very good healthcare system, I can assure you, under the good leadership of President Ruto, we will become number 1 in healthcare delivery in another 10 years. Honorable Kimani, I have given all the 23 and our table of all the isolation centers, including let us not politicize the health of our citizens. And I want to ask a question, Honorable Speaker. A Kenyan who is in DRC crosses today. He passes through the scanners in Busia.
Minister, you are not here to ask questions.
Yes.
Give a hypothesis.
No, Honorable, I want to compare with the US one.
Yes.
If a Kenyan crosses and then the scanners don't detect as having Ebola, the incubation period for this disease is 3 weeks. He comes and joins his family and the community. After two weeks, he's found to be infected with Ebola. What is the damage that Kenyan can cause? You know, we must look at how to save the nation. So we are more concerned about Americans coming, but we are not concerned about even the thousands of Kenyans, truck drivers who pass every day, go on there. We are just focused. Let us not make, Honorable Speaker, this thing a more of the Kenya Kwanza administration. The health of the citizens of our country is a collective responsibility. Those in government, those in the opposition. We can play around with anything else. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Sarah Korere, there have been 16 other previous Ebola outbreaks in our country. This is the 17th one. So it didn't come with this government. COVID was not with this government. So, and then Ebola and all infectious diseases, they don't know borders. They cross. They can cross from anywhere. And we must make sure the isolation and treatment centers, including the one in Laikipia, are securely controlled. The environment, even within the Laikipia, in fact, because it's the military camp, is even more secure than the ones we are putting in the counties. Any one of us can be infected with Ebola, God forbid. Healthcare workers will be trained. Waste management will be done. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mary Emase have answered a question. Honorable Ndindi have answered this question. I think there was Honorable Zamzam under the International Health Regulation Act of 2005, which this House has adopted. We are obligated. We are part of the global community. We are part of the global health security. Kenya is celebrated as one of the key leaders in global health security. We are obligated not only to take care of our own, but we are obligated to treat, to detect, and make sure even those who are not Kenyans, but who are within our border, must be taken care of, so that we are not safe until all of us are safe. I think the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader, my old colleague, the facility is receiving patients. What we have passed in the House was on infectious, biosafety, biological, which were all stipulated in the agreement. And Honorable Speaker, I have carried all the documents for this House. It was there before. You can get it from the Hansard, how it was passed, but I still have copies at the Ministry of Health. So quarantine is not only for Americans, even Kenyans will be isolated at the facility, and I have highlighted the huge Kenyan population in DRC and Uganda need our support. Honorable Speaker, I think most of the questions I have answered. The last one is, let our preparedness and response be dictated by science and not by politics. How we respond, how we protect our citizens from Ebola, which has no vaccine, it should be guided by science, but not politics. We'll go back to politics when we know the country is safe, the citizens are safe. And Honorable Speaker, finally, Nairobi is the center of the diplomatic community. The UN at Gigiri, the only one in the global south, extra 8,000 staff have been brought in the last 3 months. This is where we have the multilateral institutions. This is where we have JKA last year received 9 million visitors and about 3 million tourists. All those, plus our citizens, we must be cognizant of their health. Honorable Speaker, so Laikipia, Honorable Korere, the one on the land taken, I think it is this House again which has passed the agreement between us and our UK partners. So there's nothing illegal the government has done. Let's all of us be the voices and help us communicate to our constituencies that Ebola, and particularly this variant, is dangerous, it has no cure, and all of us must be vigilant and alert, and those of us in the health ministry, we will protect our citizens.
Order, Mary Emase. What is it, Emase? He has responded to your question. What is it you want to clarify? You want to recount what you said?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I do not want to be misunderstood. In Teso South sub-county, I have 2 sub-counties. The only hospital I have offering the normal medical services to the community is Alupe. Honorable Speaker, my position and the position of the people I represent is that there is enough land in Alupe. Let the ministry build an isolation center for quarantine purposes, away from the hospital, but not to take the hospital for that purpose. That is what we are objecting.
Point made. You have made your point, Mary, and you and the minister are saying the same thing. Honorable members, order. Honorable members, the time I allocated has been overshot. Just hold your horses. Has been overshot by 9 minutes. Given the interest, and whoever I give, you just ask a question.
No speeches. So that we can take another 10, 15 minutes. And you're obligated to extend
From 10 by the time we are consuming now until we finish. Okay. I will give 3. Okay. My minority leader, Junet, you will be number 1 on this side. Number 2, I'll give Honorable Kiamba Susan. That is number 2. Number 3, I'll give the chair of health. This side, I'll give Professor Jaldesa, number 1. I'll give my deputy speaker, number 2. And I'll give Madenge, number 3. I've already given members of your committee. So let's start with number 1 in quick succession. Junet, I'll come to you. After Junet, Kiamba, after Kiamba, Nyikal, in that quick succession.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask this. But having noticed that, Mr. Speaker, there is a ratified document by this House. The Speaker, members should take very serious when the Speaker is putting a question. Because many of that opinion say, you just say, you don't know you're ratifying something that's going to bring a disease. So be careful next time. Next time, be careful, please. But Mr. Speaker, my question is, I have condensed this thing into 2 aspects, Mr. Speaker, and I want the Minister to clarify. What Kenyans are grappling with, Mr. Speaker, is how does the government intend to safeguard Kenyan sovereignty and decision-making authority? Just explain to the House how you have safeguarded your sovereignty and your decision-making. And then lastly, whether it is the foreign governments that will decide who gets admitted to those facilities, and whether you have done public and security assessment, and whether you have done that report public. If you answer those 4 questions, then Kenyans will be safe. Thank you very much.
Next, Kiamba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think my first one was point of order. Is it in order,
There is no
Honorable
first
Speaker?
one. I've given you to ask a question. A point of order arises when a member is on the floor. There's no member on the floor. Ask the question. If you don't, you yield the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would want to ask the Minister, now that Kenyans have spoken loudly and clear, that the context has changed and we no longer want this center, what is his recommendation? Does the wishes of Kenyans become irrelevant, or can dynamic Kenyans think, or once something is passed in this parliament, it's passed in heaven? Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me ask one. Who will be admitted in this facility, and what would be the criteria for admission? 2, will people who are already sick be transferred to this admission? 3, will people other than Americans be admitted in these institutions? And to the contrary, will Americans be admitted in the other 23 institutions that we have put in place? And why didn't we...
Nyikal, I gave you an opportunity for 1 question.
Okay,
then
let me just, I've asked 3, I'll leave it there. But let me make a comment about the agreement, because I know the agreement, I remember the discussion, and I've had time to look at it. The agreement is a general agreement, Mr. Speaker. It is not just Ebola, it is other diseases, it is nuclear materials as well. And in every point in the agreement, it says with mutual agreement. At every point in that agreement, it says with mutual agreement. So, Mr. Speaker, I only wanted to make those 2 points.
What is the point of order, Carol Omondi? What's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the chair of the Health Committee to mislead the House and the nation that in those 2 agreements, which I have here and which I've read, there's a clause that provides for the establishment of an isolation and treatment center in case of any outbreak of Ebola or any other disease? There's none. I can read them out
He
for
never
you. If
said
it is,
that.
show us, tell us the article.
Order, Honorable Carol Omondi. Order.
Mr. Speaker, I said.
Dr. Nyekal, I heard you clearly. Take your seat. Take your seat. Carol Omondi just wanted an entry to make an inflammatory statement. Yes. You never said that. Jaldeza? Jaldeza?
Here, thank you.
Order, Carol Omondi. Nyekal never said what you are saying. I'm closer to him. And I listen to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to tell the House that Kenya is lucky to be having the leading and the best researchers in this region. Kenya has been taking leadership in leprosy research at Alupe, which was an isolation center. Mr. Speaker, when HIV started, HIV patients were actually isolated until people learned that it's not such contagious disease. And it was based at Cambridge, and it has done very well. And the research work which was done and the researchers were left behind for the country. Mr. Speaker, last COVID was such a threatening disease that we were actually trying to look for beds for patients who have COVID. And people are going to all sorts of funny places, including some hospitals in Kibera, and it saved people's lives. But the good thing, the Nairobi Hospital East Wing, was left behind for the hospital
Yes,
and for the country.
what is the point of order?
Oh.
Mr. Speaker,
Point of order, let's see.
is it right for my colleague to refer to Kibera as funny hospitals, even in Kibera? Is Kibera not a constituency?
Yes.
It's demeaning my constituency.
Go on.
Mr. Speaker, Kibera is a constituency, and it has the highest concentration of people in this country, and it deserves better services. Mr. Speaker, my point is this. Mr. Speaker, when this Ebola virus outbreak ends, what will be the benefit left for the country? That now we can say the country benefited financially in terms of resource and research from this outbreak.
Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, I would like the Cabinet Secretary to confirm to the members here who have objected to having the quarantine centers in their own counties that in our case, Uasin Gishu County is one of the quarantine centers. And because of our close proximity to Malaba border, we can be at risk and our people can be at risk. And that is the reason why we are not politicizing it. We are welcoming it because we know they'll take the necessary steps to make sure that we don't risk. And also, I want the Cabinet Secretary to also confirm to members that you're not going to endanger our health because of politics. This is a highly infectious disease. In fact, it can warrant calling of a state of emergency in the country. It is not a choice for people to make or a court process. The moment the country, if people's health is endangered and livelihoods are at risk, we might not even be, you're not supposed to even question. So I think it's important to know that that is not something that is within our prerogative to say, I don't want this hospital, or I do not want that hospital. And for Honorable Karoli Omondi, if you look at page 5, you will see the participants intend to collaborate in the following areas: surveillance and outbreak response. What is exactly happening now is surveillance and outbreak response. All the steps that the Cabinet Secretary has read here are exactly those. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Madenge.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to draw the Minister to the attention to the first agreement that was tabled in this House for ratification. On page 6, Article 3, Executive Agents and Implementing Agreements. For the United States, the agent responsible is the United States Department of Defense. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, the Minister cannot fail to respond to the words of the Secretary of State in saying that the United States will not allow Ebola-infected patients into their borders, because that is the issue that Kenyans are talking about. In Kenya, it is the Ministry of Health. So, CS, you cannot abdicate responsibility. Honorable Speaker, my second content, again on the agreement, is Article 11, page 11, that this agreement shall remain in force subject to Article 13.2 for a period of 5 years from the date of entry into force and the ratification by this House. There was no express, although there is a provision in 3, this agreement may be renewed for an agreed period upon mutual consultation and consent. In the approval provided by this House, did this House envisage that when I am talking about the approval by the House. The approval by the House. In the approval by the House, did this therefore mean automatically that then when the Cabinet then renewed, that extended the approval granted by this House? Lastly, Honorable Speaker.
I gave you an opportunity for one, Madenge.
Allow me just one. The committee recommendations, Honorable Speaker. Number 5, the implementing review committee be constituted and should develop a mechanism for reporting back to Parliament on the status of the implementation of this agreement. How many reports, Honorable Speaker, have been brought to this House on the implementation?
Minister, before you answer, let me give the minority whip, Millie. Millie,
thank you.
Ask one question only.
Thank you, Mr.
Don't
Speaker.
make a speech.
No, I actually wasn't going to give a speech. You are the one prompting me. But I'm not asking.
I will stop you if you
I'm
try.
not asking. I'm not going to...
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr.
I've
Speaker.
given Millie on account of being your leader. Go on.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Speaker, you can see Suberians are disturbing each other. Mr. Speaker, mine is really very, very simple. And if you listen to the concerns, Kenyans are not really too worried about setting up of centers that protect Kenyans. Kenyans are worried about the statement that was made by, by Rubio from the US that seems to imply that this facility is for Americans to protect Americans so that the infected Americans do not touch American soil. And Mr. Speaker,
if you want my opinion, it was a very irresponsible statement.
yes, it was a very responsible statement.
Yes.
And all I want to ask Honorable Duale, even though he's throwing back this to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is what is he doing to deal with this issue squarely with America? We have seen our counterparts in West Africa when they are being bullied by the French, that they take a firm position and say no. So what are you doing to tell America that they are a friendly nation and we are friends to them, but we cannot allow a situation that compromises our own nationals to maintain that friendship? We cannot allow such things in Kenya.
Thank you. Last, Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that when the report was tabled in 2016 by the Committee of Health, I seconded that report, and the chair was Honorable Nyamai. What I wanted to ask the Cabinet Secretary, what I wanted to ask the Cabinet Secretary, why are you laughing? No, it was Honorable Nyamai.
If it's a statement of fact, it remains a statement of fact.
It's a statement of fact.
Yes.
Honorable Nyikal was a member of the committee. And Honorable Speaker, one funny thing about that report is that when we put into the dailies to ask for public participation, there was no single memorandum from the public. Nobody wrote anything. And I think Kenyans also need to be responsible. They must be able to look at some of this when the parliament puts a document for opinions or memorandum in the dailies, that they should also be able to give inputs. And therefore, honorable members who are not members of parliament by them cannot say that they were not Kenyans at that time. They needed to have even put their input. What I wanted to ask the Honorable Minister, Mr. Speaker.
Kajiado South, Parashina, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, is the member in order to come to maybe to relate the public participation by then and what is going now is Ebola. So we're talking about the Ebola, the foreign, whatever is happening, the question is about Ebola. It's not about the agreement by that time.
I think you're wasting my time because you don't understand. This is the problem of not understanding what we were ratifying. Honorable Speaker, what I wanted to ask.
Honorable Junet, what is it? Hold your horses.
Mr. Speaker, Dr. Pokose should have given us more information that Dr. Nyamai was the chair and he was the vice chair.
Yes.
He put it like he was a member.
No, I was a
but Mr. Speaker, just to...
He said he seconded.
Yeah, but he was the vice chair of that committee.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter that is coming out today here is that Parliament ratified this treaty. Yes. Mr. Speaker, yes. Let us be open to Kenyans. We gave them opportunity to give their public participation. We ratified. We told Americans, do what you want to do. Yes. And when the Speaker says, as many of that opinions say, don't cheat Kenyans.
It is true what minority leader is saying. We ratified the agreement as the National Assembly. And it became the law of Kenya because by ratification, what it means is that it becomes part of the law of the country.
Ask the question.
My question to the Cabinet Secretary. Yes. You know, when people are raising about the isolation centers being set up in certain areas, does it mean the whole hospital becomes an isolation center, or there is a specific area within the hospital that is set up as an isolation center? Because I think that is what Kenyans need to understand publicly, so that, like my colleague, when we talk about Koicholwa or Alupe, thinking that the whole of Alupe is an isolation center. So I think the Cabinet Secretary needs to clarify. Even as we speak of Kenyatta having an isolation center, what does it mean? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister, can you answer all those in 5 minutes?
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me start where Honorable Pukose left. That isolation centers are not part and parcel of the hospital where citizens access for other services. And it's not something only with Ebola. It is a standard procedure when an infectious disease happens, whether it is Marburg, Mpox, name it. So even in Alupe, in any facility, even in Laikipia, it is very far. Those who come from Laikipia know the expansiveness of Laikipia Air Base. It is far from the base and all the facility in the base. So no hospital. Honorable Chair, Honorable Junet asked whether the issue of our sovereignty. And in my statement I say, and I want to emphasize, that international cooperation does not mean surrender of our national authority and sovereignty. All public health decisions within Kenya remain under the authority of the government of Kenya. International partners and governments, including the US, they provide technical assistance, they provide health commodities, they provide finance, and I want to thank the US government, the only one so far, apart from WHO, who has provided 1.7 billion for just only Ebola. They provide training and logistics support within the framework approved by the Kenyan authorities, and which is consistent with the Kenyan laws. So, Honorable Junet, I want to assure you that all the facilities which are being established, including the one in Laikipia, for the protection of the people of Kenya and all persons within the Kenyan borders, they are not foreign facilities. They are not exclusive facilities. They are not facilities reserved for any nationality. They are public health assets established and coordinated under the authority of the government of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Sholei, I think, made it very clear. We have a moral responsibility. Every county where we are setting isolation, quarantine, treatment centers, they are based on science and the law. And it's done by experts who are Kenyans. Honorable Madenge, you are a member of the health committee. You know that I have never shied away or abdicated my role as a Minister for Health, and I'll never do it. But this agreement first was signed by Minister Macharia. It was again extended by my very good colleague, the current Minister for Agriculture, Kagwe. And when an extension is being done, it only requires one ratification by the House. So the House has passed, the way we have passed many other many other agreements, and this is all to protect our people. Honorable Nyikal, Kenyans will have a priority in admission to any of the centers, including Laikipia. And we should not be very much preoccupied just one center. I don't know what is so fast about Laikipia. We have 23 centers. Even in my own backyard in Garissa, it's one of the counties. Tomorrow, if we agree to put it, and we're going to put it, the people of Garissa will be saved. So we have 23 centers, Laikipia included. And Kenya is one, and let us promote one Kenya, one health, and we protect Kenyans regardless of where they come from, regardless of their counties. We need the isolation quarantine centers, Honorable Speaker, first and fundamentally, morally and constitutionally, to protect our citizens, Kenyans. Again, also to protect other people who live or who come through our country. But for our partners who have signed the agreement, they can access these centers. Americans can access any of the centers. Of course, like Kibia is one of the centers they have jointly worked with the Kenya Defense Forces. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Susan talked about loud and clear. I don't know, I can't answer what is loud and clear because Kenyans, when they want to make their choice, they do it through a referendum or through public participation, not through demonstrations. And the health of our citizens cannot and will not be decided by 3, 4 people, 10 people who will demonstrate outside MOH. Tomorrow, if Ebola, God forbid, finds itself in our country, the person and the people who will be held responsible is the current government. And we must do whatever it takes to protect the citizens of our country. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Jalesa and Honorable Jalesa, I think, he said we did this. We have the best capital.
Jalesa didn't ask a question.
Yes, Honorable Millie. Please, my good, we join Millie, Honorable Millie, together to this House of Excellency, Honorable Speaker. Don't compare us with some other places. We are ahead. We are number 1 in the healthcare. We have a very good relationship with the US. They spent $8 billion. Today, the gains we are proud of in HIV, in AIDS, in malaria, in the capacity of the laboratories in Kisumu, like Cambry, CDC, Walter Reed in Kericho. Those were built because of the partnership we have with the US government. For Mark Rubio, I think Senator Mark Rubio, the speaker, has spoken about it. He's a former long-serving Kenyan foreign minister. He understands diplomacy better than me. I've never been a diplomat. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We'll end there. Yes, Nyekal. Which one?
Will people who are already sick where they are be transferred to this unit? Mr. Speaker, I ask that question because science and international practice is when people are sick of a disease in a pandemic or an epidemic, you treat them where they are. You don't move sick people to a place where there's no disease. I would want a question to that. And Mr. Speaker, let me also say, this agreement does not oblige the government to put an Ebola unit. This agreement was general.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, even to Honorable Nyekal, even here members are sitting. We transfer our patients from one hospital to another hospital. Why do we do it? Because we want them to get better care. The healthcare system, and I don't want to be misquoted, the healthcare system there and the healthcare system for a Kenyan who gets sick. I am sure all of you sitting here, if your next of kin gets Ebola in DRC, the first thing you do is to bring to a better healthcare system in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, and I don't want to talk about hypotheses. As of today, there is no Ebola outbreak. So don't take me to a situation where I discuss about people who are infected with Ebola. When that comes, then the House can call me back and ask me that question. That, are you bringing in people who have Ebola? As of today, there's no Ebola patient in Kenya. When that time comes, I am around, the House can call me back.
And there, honorable members, we'll now go back to order number 8. It is now 4, you'll call it. Well, it's now 4:23. This second allotted day will end at 7:23. And the next allotted day will end at 10:23:25. Call out the next order. Minister, you are released to go back to your office.
Order number 8, motion. Consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2026-2027, general debate, second allotted day.
My record shows the Honorable David Ndakwa, member for Malava, had 6 minutes to go. Ndakwa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to have given me this opportunity to continue with the debate on the consideration, the estimates for this financial year, 2026-2027. As I had done my first point, Mr. Speaker, I would like to emphasize on the youth funding, which is an empowerment programs for the youthful Kenyan population, which is a potential that remain underutilized. Mr. Speaker, to the little economic and employment opportunities, we must allocate more resources towards vocational training, enterprise development, innovation hubs, sports and digital skills. Mr. Speaker, we need to offer youth affordable credit facilities so that they can empower themselves where the employment is scarce in our country. Mr. Speaker, sir, empowering our youth is not just about expenditure. It is about investment of this country into the youth, which is for the future and the prosperity of this country, looking at the stability of the economy. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to comment something on education, whereby an educated society is empowered. An empowered society, Mr. Speaker, in the nature that we strongly advocate and enhance the funding of this education sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, education remains an equalizer to our standard of life, and most effectively is a tool in fighting poverty and also creating job opportunities. Looking at this budget, Mr. Speaker, we look at the allocation and find that it has been given a substantial amount of 789 billion towards education. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a good gesture on infrastructure development. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the recruitment of teachers, whereby we need to have GSSC teachers to be confirmed because they are serving on contract. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are looking at the allocation of bursary, whereby the needy students are to be helped to enhance in their academics. Mr. Speaker, sir, bursary also as a conduit for getting to understand the measure of academic in our law society. The much that is given to education should be given a latitude in bursaries, whereby bursaries in our constituents is also giving lifeline to the low earners in our society. Mr. Speaker, sir, we need digital learnings to be enhanced and also some improvement in learning environments, not just in local areas, but also in urban areas. A denied child to access education is a disservice, because for equity in understanding what education is all about, to acquire knowledge, Mr. Speaker, we need quality education and we need financial constraint. Mr. Speaker, sir, looking at this budget on healthcare. Healthcare has been given an allotment, Mr. Speaker, that I find to be well, depending on the primary healthcare, Mr. Speaker. An improved access to healthcare, Mr. Speaker, it can keep some good survey in equipped hospitals, whereby health centers, like where I come from, Kamchisu dispensary, has got its alignment to understand and be given a leeway to make sure that we are accessing health facilities with no difficulties. Unemployment given to our medical practitioners, Mr. Speaker, sir, where they are not motivated, you will find that their working condition is very poor, which is leading to demoralization. Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to strengthen universal health care because most of our vulnerable in the society are the one getting pressure to tip into their pocket for them to get treatment. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have been talking about Ebola.
Martin Owino, did you speak to this? Okay, get yourself out. Victor Koech. I'm following the screen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity as well to contribute to the motion that is before this House on the consideration of budget for the financial year 26-27, Honorable Speaker. I will constrain myself, Honorable Speaker, to the most of the basic needs. And as to why I say so, Speaker, is because where I come from and where we, members of the rural constituencies and single constituencies that we come from, Honorable Speaker, there are basic needs that still require proper budgetary consideration. Honorable Speaker, on matters education, as far as we are happy with what the Department of Education is doing and are planning to appropriate good monies to infrastructural development, Honorable Speaker, it is very paramount for this House, Honorable Speaker, in the future to as well consider the constituencies that are believed to be underdeveloped. Because, Honorable Speaker, a constituency like Chepalungu constituency that has 187 primary schools that are registered, that has 97 day secondary school that are registered, Honorable Speaker, that is a 5-ward constituency and getting an allocation of 192 in CDF, Honorable Speaker, it is paramount and it's reasonable that the budget and the chair for budget is here, and I'm happy he visited Bomet County, the first ever budget chair to visit Bomet County. He was there in person, he listened, he went through the proposal that we gave him. And I have a belief that he understood the reason where we're coming from, that Chepalungu constituency and other rural constituencies require affirmative action so that our students can be able to compete fairly. Because, Honorable Speaker, they say education is an opener and it's an equalizer. Failure for rural constituencies to have basic infrastructure like the laboratories, like the libraries, like tuition block classrooms, Honorable Speaker. That is why we call upon the Department of Education, together with the chair for budget, to be considering such constituencies like Chepalungu constituency. Honorable Speaker, when you talk about TFET, we know the steps that TFET has put, the efforts that is being put by the TFET department in announcing and in disseminating knowledge, the skills, the basic skills. There are other constituencies like my constituency, Chepalungu, that has an incomplete lab. And that is why we always run to the budget committee to ask if we can at least get some few shillings to complete such infrastructure. But Honorable Speaker, there's something that has been crossing my mind for so long. Because we give free registration, free examination fee, courtesy of the government, to the grade 12, let me say to the Form 4s. We also give it to previously under 844 to class 8. When it goes to the tertiary level, and I'm specific to TVETs, Honorable Speaker, a student or a learner who wishes to sit for exam is being asked to pay to a tune of 12,600. These are amounts, Honorable Speaker, that we've been discussing and encouraging that the Ministry of Education, through TVETs, if it is possible, they can also give free registration to these particular learners so that they do not fall or drop out of school because of lack of examination fee. Honorable Speaker, when I come to electricity, Honorable Speaker, we have had various debates on how we appropriate these monies. Honorable Speaker, a rural constituency in Turkana, a rural constituency in Kisumu, a rural constituency in Bomet compete for the same limited resources like an urban constituency that has a better electricity connectivity. Honorable Speaker, we have always called upon anyone who is relevant to at least consider affirmative action for constituencies that are still below 20% in terms of electricity connectivity. Honorable Speaker, when some of us were elected, we were below 15%. The much that we've tried, no one is able to appreciate, simply because the demand versus the supply is too huge, Honorable Speaker. And that is why all the time we find ourselves in the ministries, we find ourselves to the chairman for budget, trying to at least argue our points that these rural constituencies have to be given proper support in terms of affirmative action. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to other basic needs, that is water and health, I am happy that this government, that East House is appropriating proper finances so that the health care, that is the social health authority, is being given proper consideration so that our people can be able to access free and cheaper and affordable health services. Honorable Speaker, I want to end there by saying at least this particular financial year, we are able to, when, at times, Honorable Speaker, when we sit here and you put a question like, do as of the same opinion say hi, we normally say hi, whereas we appropriate money to go and to develop other constituencies. At least for this financial year, when we were saying hi, Kapkwen, Shongiroi Road that is going up to Ndanai is in the budget. At least when I'm saying hi as a member of parliament, a road that is linking from Chebole that has been a problem, going to Chebunyo, going to Emurwa Digir, is considered for rehabilitation. At least today, Honorable Speaker, when I'm saying hi, water that is from Posta has been given proper consideration. At least, Honorable Speaker, today when I'm saying hi, there is proper money that is being appropriated to education to go to support and to confirm our interns who have been serving there for so long, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to end there and say I support. Thank you.
Robert Mbui.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also make my contribution on the budget of this financial year. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I just want to demystify this issue of budget because many times Kenyans will be glued on their screens looking at what is happening here and looking at the budget like it's a very major issue. But budgets are very basic, Mr. Speaker, because the budget just deals with expenditures, and it's the same, personal expenditures also are budgeted, family expenditures are budgeted, expenditures of organizations, businesses are also budgeted. So it's the same thing that the government does. And Mr. Speaker, there are certain basic things or basic principles that all budgets must adhere to, and that's what any budget has to have. And Mr. Speaker, those are the things I want to talk about and point out where I feel that this budget has succeeded and maybe also failed. Mr. Speaker, the first thing is that we are spending a lot of our money dealing with the issue of public debt. And Mr. Speaker, it is quite unfortunate because it is many times leaders have spoken about public debt, not just this regime, even the previous one. And Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate because I remember a while back, before the last election, I remember leaders telling us that, when you are in a hole, you stop digging. And Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, we are digging even faster and deeper than the hole was. In fact, right now, we have submerged ourselves. We are invisible, Mr. Speaker, because we are completely in the hole. I don't even know how we are going to get out of this hole. The kind of percentage of the money that is allocated to this country that goes into paying debt is just too much. It's astronomical. And Mr. Speaker, we must find a way to reduce this. But Mr. Speaker, there is also the matter, Mr. Speaker, of pending bills. Mr. Speaker, we have an issue. A lot of Kenyans have invested in doing business with the government. And and it's not just even at the national level, even at the county level. And they are owed so much money, in excess of 60 billion. Mr. Speaker, I ask myself, that money, if it was released to go back into circulation, obviously that's how the economy grows, because then we have money that is being spent, and therefore we can be able to grow our economy even faster. But Mr. Speaker, the money is tied. People have done business, they have not been paid. People have committed suicide. People have, it is so unfortunate. And Mr. Speaker, what surprises me is that almost every year, we always insist that, we'll set aside some money and make sure that we sort out the issue of pending bills. How many times are we going to have our grandchildren come to this house and continue that discussion? We must reach a point and bite the bullet and say we must sort out this thing once and for all. And Mr. Speaker, we also have to find out what do we do with those government officers that have spent beyond what they are supposed to spend? Because what is it that causes spending bills? Maybe there are some people that give contracts or jobs when there is no money to pay. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to be careful as a country so that we don't continue endangering our people. It is a song that we have sung. We must stop the singing now and make sure that we take action. Mr. Speaker, there is also the issue of prioritization. How do we prioritize our expenditure? Mr. Speaker, sometimes I look at the budget and, you find that there are certain areas, because even in your own personal budget, you will prioritize. You will look at those expenditures that you must, like you must pay for your rent, you must pay for your children's fees, you must buy food. Those are a must. Those are recurrent expenditures that you must do. Then you will, whatever remains, then you can endeavor in doing some kind of development. You cannot start building a house when you don't even have money to pay for children's food. So, Mr. Speaker, the prioritization here is strange, because you look at the kind of budget that, for example, will allow State House and the office of the president, and then you ask yourself, how do we spend that kind of money when we have teachers, intern teachers that are being paid peanuts? And then we expect, and they say if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. How do you expect teachers being paid, underpaid so badly, to go to those classrooms and teach our JS children? So, Mr. Speaker, and then again, look at the number of teachers. There is a shortfall, there's a shortage of the number of teachers. Why is it we are spending so much money in luxury? Any money going into public offices is basically for luxury. It is for tea, for mandazi, for any entertainment money. It is money that we can do away with so that we can be able to provide funds that can be able to move the country forward. Mr. Speaker, even when it comes to issues to do with development, because the development has to be done, we have to also be careful, Mr. Speaker. How do we develop the country? Are we developing across the country, or are we segregating and developing certain areas and leaving others? Mr. Speaker, I have looked at that budget, and Mr. Speaker, I am a member of parliament representing a constituency called Kathiani in Machakos County. And I must say that the only project that has been in this budget for over the years that directly touches on my constituency is just one road. That one road, which was worth 1.6 billion, started in 2017. Every year you get peanuts, peanuts, peanuts. Mr. Speaker, even the allocation that we'll get will not take this road anywhere. It's only one road. But there are members who have stood. A member has stood on the floor, and I don't want to name members because that would be unfair. And they've talked about the projects in their constituencies. Mr. Speaker, I want to understand, does it mean that these areas...
There is a point of order from the chair budget.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I respect my leader here, but I wanted him to give me the details of the road he's talking about. The reason I'm asking is because, Honorable Speaker, we have a comprehensive program for road network in the country, where all roads are being improved, and there's no contractor who is outside site as we talk. So I'm keen to see that road so that I can see whether it's being factual or not. Because, Honorable Speaker, from the resources we have in the budget and even from the securitization, we have been able to ensure that all road contracts are going on smoothly. Honorable Speaker, if the leader could be able to share me the details, I'll be able to respond to that is concern. Because the principle of this government is not to segregate any part of the country. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy. Yeah, thank you. I'm happy the chair of budget has indicated that he would be in a position to help. It's a road from Keno through Mitaboni, through Kadhiani, all the way to a place called Kaani. Contract given in 2017, and it is even now. I mean, right now there is no contractor on site. Mr. Speaker, these are facts because even not just my place, there are many roads that are stalled all over the country. And the reason I raise this is because there are certain members that are celebrating their areas and they are very happy about the projects they've gotten, the dams and the roads and all that, at the expense of others. And that's why I'm saying that as a house, we also have to take control. I think the biggest mistake we make as a house is to allow influence from outside to make the decisions on our behalf. Because if we far-flung parts of the country that will get more allocation than areas, far-flung parts of the country that will get more allocation than areas that are even more deserving. Places where money will be invested and you can see absolutely no return for the investment. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about that issue of equitable distribution of resources. Let us be fair. Let us ensure that it is not just Kenya Kwanza regions that are being supported. Even Lower Eastern is part of Kenya. And every part of Kenya deserves a big share or the fair share of the budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that opportunity.
John Makali.
Give me the mic. Oh, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to also weigh in on these budget estimates for the financial year 2026-2027. At the outset, I will thank the Budget Committee for spending hours to work up on this particular report. Speaker, in the interest of time, I have 4 critical issues I want to address, which are critical to our national development. The first one is on the State Department for Roads. Honorable Speaker, in this particular budget, we have allocated a sum of 228 billion towards maintaining the roads for the financial year 2026-2027. Honorable Speaker, roads play a very, very, very critical role in our national development. They facilitate access to markets, they attract investment, they provide employment opportunities. How I wish, Honorable Speaker, that we will have allocated more money on roads because, Honorable Speaker, all over the country, we are having a very, very big problem with our roads. In my constituency, Honorable Speaker, you know we have problems with the common C41, the Navaholo, Muskoma, Dorofu Road, which is a big, big problem. But I'm aware, Honorable Speaker, we passed the infrastructure fund, National Infrastructure Fund. We are hoping that during this financial year, we should be able to operationalize that fund so that it can be able to assist in the maintenance of our roads. Yes, as I commend the allocation on these roads, Honorable Speaker, I want to state 4 things to the committee and to this House at large. First, we need to prioritize the completion of stalled road projects that are giving us really a bad name. 2, we need to enhance maintenance of existing roads networks to protect previous investments. That is very, very critical. And finally, also, ensure equitable distribution of road projects across the country. Honorable Speaker, you will hear in some places they have an allocation of 20 billion shillings on account of roads. And you find an area like Western where you only have maybe an allocation on account of roads around only 10 or 12 billion only. We want equity in the distribution of sums of money set aside towards construction of roads. I also support the operationalization of National Infrastructure Fund because it will be critical in removing the pressure on the budget in respect of these particular roads. The second item which is critical to our national development is agriculture. In this particular budget, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated a sum of 79 billion shillings towards agriculture. Agriculture is very critical to our economy because 20% of our gross domestic product is account of agriculture. 40% of the employments in this particular country are from the agriculture value chain. But Honorable Speaker, we will want to point out three things. While appreciating the steps we have made, I know we have made very serious strides in fertilizer subsidy. We have also made a provision for seed subsidy. Those are very, very good strides. We have also made very serious strides in agricultural research. But I will want to propose three things. One, we started up with the sugar reforms. And all the public sugar mills were listed out. But we have not already completed that part of the sugar reforms. I'm happy that in this particular budget, we have allocated 2.47 billion shillings towards settling of the employees' arrears. I will be urging the committee as it retreats back. There were employees who were sacked specifically from employees from Zoya Sugar Company and the other public sugar mills. For us to ensure that all these employees have a good time, we need to allocate more money to ensure that we clear those arrears that were due to employees and farmers so that they can also be able to have a livelihood. But of that, we will want to insist that the government needs to do several other things. One, ensure timely provision of subsidized fertilizer. We find many times you go to National Cereals Board, you find farmers are queuing, and there are long queues. At times the fertilizer is not available, or if it's available after the season, to ensure timely provision of subsidized fertilizer. Two, strengthen agricultural extension services. The county governments, I know agriculture is a devolved function, but our county governments have not been very, very good in supporting agricultural extension services. We would want to urge that the county governments pull up their socks in terms of agricultural extension services. Equally, Madam Speaker, we are spending quite a lot of money on imports. We are still importing a lot of rice, we are still importing a lot of wheat from outside. We need to strengthen our agriculture sector by ensuring that we have sufficient provision of funds to it. Because in this budget, it's only 3% of the total national budget that has been allocated to a very critical sector like agriculture. And in agriculture, three critical things come to the fore. One, food security. Two, reducing imports and increasing exports. In this particular budget, we have only allocated 79 billion shillings. I find that sum is still a small sum, taking into account that we are also signatories to the Malabo Accord, which clearly indicates that at least 10% of the budgets should go towards strengthening agriculture. So, Madam Speaker, we will be urging that the government looks into allocating more resources towards the agriculture sector, because that is our lifeline. When it comes to education, Madam Speaker, I want to commend the committee for allocating the largest chunk of the money in this particular budget towards education. But Madam Speaker, there are a few critical things which I thought we needed to look into. And one of them is ensuring that there is timely release of capitation funds. Every time we go back to our constituencies, the teachers are complaining capitation has not been released. It's one thing to allocate funds towards a specific project, but it's another thing to have that money released. Teachers are actually complaining. So we will be urging that as a house, we keep on pushing to ensure timely disbursement of capitation funds to schools. To address infrastructure gaps in learning institutions. There has been an inequity in distribution of infrastructure funds. I hope as we pass this particular budget, we are going to ensure that there is equity in the distribution of infrastructure funds in schools. We support the recruitment of teachers, and I think we must thank the government for employing, I think, 100,000 teachers. We are going to employ another 20,000. But we need to ensure that as we distribute those teachers, we distribute them evenly so that there are no shortages of teachers in some places, and we find some places teachers are many than other places. So we need to ensure that even if we employ these teachers, there is equity in their distribution to various places, because you can find some places there are more teachers, other places there are no teachers. Then TVET institutions. As we push the idea for TVET institutions, we must ensure that those institutions also work on courses that meet the market. Because we find many other institutions are churning out students who are not fit for the market. We need to strengthen to ensure that the graduates from these TVET institutions actually meet the target. Who are the winners in this particular budget, which I want to thank the budget committee? At long last, our village managers are going to have something to take home, however little. Our village managers, I know an allowance has been proposed for 3,000 shillings. I would say that is a good start we need to support, and eventually we need to up it up. Two, our electoral, we are moving towards the elections. The IEBC has always been complaining of not being funded adequately to ensure that there is adequate preparedness for the elections. If you move around over weekends, you can see the heightened political activity. We hope the funds that have been allocated to IEBC will be sufficient for them to engage in serious electoral preparedness, because this is, I think, the last budget, not the last budget, but the most crucial budget before the 2027 elections, so that the IEBC does civic education, voter registration, and ensure that the polling stations have been clearly marked out. Equally, from this, we will wish to thank the committee also for looking at confirmation of the JSS teachers. The committee has made a recommendation to have 20,000 teachers confirmed. How I wish you will have confirmed the entire 44,000 teachers who are on internship in JSS and have them, all of them confirmed. But moving forward, we can have a very, very nice budget. But, Madam Speaker, as a House, we need to also pull up ourselves to ensure that we monitor the usage of these particular funds. Because if we do not, then we could just have sums of money distributed on paper, but we are not monitoring up the usage of these particular funds. Because every time we move out in our constituencies, you'll find people saying funds have not been used, programs that were actually budgeted before have not been executed. We hope that this time around, we are going to do our oversight role as much as we can, so that we can ensure that public funds are put to good use. I support, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Tinderet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to also weigh in and contribute on the budget, the estimates for the 2026-2027. Madam Speaker, first and foremost, I want to laud the chair and the committee for work well done. More importantly, in the education subsector, which encompasses 4 main departments. It encompasses the TVET and vocational education training department, basic education and training. It also has university education, and lastly, we have research. Madam Speaker, this budget has allocated education 781 billion shillings, accounting for 26% of the entire budget. This speaks to the intention of the UNESCO, and more importantly, Kenya has stood for the last almost 10 years, having allocated the largest chunk of resource to education. And this money has actually gone into making sure that the sector grows, that we are still moving on with the implementation of the new education policy that was started way back at the tail end of President Mwai Kibaki and the beginning of President Uhuru's time. And now that it is going towards the final end, the university and now the senior school and towards the university. Madam Speaker, first and foremost, I want to say that in technical education, there is provision for resources, especially for capitation. This is an area where the largest group of young, strong Kenyans are. The TVET institutions across the country, and the government has a very clear policy and program on that, to construct TVET in almost every constituency. Resources have been provided. We have TVETs that are ongoing. We have institutions or TVETs that are actually undertaking several different programs running across the country. But the main thing that is actually taking the chunk of this money is the capitation to learners. And I want to laud the committee because the government has allocated up to 9.5 billion shillings for capitation. And this is going to actually allow majority of these students this year to be retained in school. Last time the capitation allocated to TVETs was 3.5 billion. This is almost an increase of 3 times that amount. And actually that reflects the Kenya Kwanza's policy of trying to make sure that learners are retained in colleges and institutions. On the same note, there is a counterpart funding on the issue of equipping TVET institutions. In this House, members of Parliament have really raised issues of completed TVET institutions without equipment. And you know very well that skilling requires equipment, it requires staff, and it requires the equipment to be used in those particular facilities. So there is a provision for for equipping those institutions, those facilities that are completed, and even equipping the labs, equipping the workshops, and the rest. On the same note, Madam Speaker, TVET, that encompasses the polytechnics, the TVET institutions, and also the employment of trainers. One of the things that I think this budget failed to capture, and I think the chair is listening, is to ensure that we provide resources for more recruitment of more trainers. As much as we are constructing TVETs across the country, there is need to employ at least up to 5,000 trainers so that TVET institutions do not use the little resources to employ the BOM trainees across the country. On basic education, Madam Speaker, the resources that have been allocated is quite a lot. There is a provision to support junior and senior school learners in terms of capitation, which is amounting to 81 billion shillings. This money, Madam Speaker, looks a lot, but in terms of student population and in terms of capitating each learner at the required level, there is a deficit of almost 40 billion shillings, or over 40 billion shillings. One of the good things that the government has done this year, and I think it is very important for the country and for all of us to know, is that the capitation for primary schools have been increased from 1420 to 2020. This is an increase, but in real terms, it is going to make a difference in terms of support in running the operations of many of our primary schools. Yes, a number of people have been saying, yes, it isn't enough, but we are actually having a serious constraint in this particular budget, and I want to say that that is going to assist because most of the primary schools have been joined together with the JSS, or the junior secondary schools, which have a capitation of 15,000 per learner. In that, the head teachers of those schools are able to jungle up or to use both resources to ensure that those two sections of our school system run amicably. The other area which I think is very important in basic education, Madam Speaker, is the issue of quality assurance and standards. This is a sector which I want to implore this House and I want to implore the State Department to make sure that there is a serious quality assurance and officers across the country. Madam Speaker, the country allocates huge resources for construction of laboratories, for the construction of infrastructure, about 2 billion shillings. For school feeding program, 3 billion shillings. But there is little inspection and finding out how these resources are utilized. That's why as a committee, the days of the famous Tuma and the famous inspectors of schools are very important. I know we are in a mourning period when we lost students in Utumishi Academy and in many other the school hundreds that are in the country. But what is very serious is that quality assurance and standards officers need to come out big time to make sure that they are the pulse of our schools. They are the people who make sure that what is set standard is followed. But every time we allocate budget here, quality assurance is given almost nil. In fact, I was asking the CS and the PS, why is it taking backstage? Yet these are the people who keep schools running, who make sure that teaching and learning is going on, who make sure that facilities that we have allocated
areas of the country.
So that's very important. The other issue, Madam Speaker, is the issue of Teacher Service Commission. Teacher Service Commission has been allocated a budget of over 400 billion shillings. This money goes to serve the following purposes. One is salaries, most of it is salaries, or remuneration for the staff, and more importantly, to convert 20,000 interns into permanent and pensionable. I know there have been hue and cry, and I think the government, because of that policy, the 24,000 teachers that are remaining will be converted when they clear their circle, when they clear the contract period. Two, there is money allocated for promotion of teachers, 2 billion shillings. That particular money is very important because over the years, teachers have stagnated in job groups for a while. And to have a workforce that is motivated, they must be promoted. They must be motivated. And the government has allocated this. And this was actually a policy that I think will promote thousands of these teachers. Last year, they were promoted 14,000. The other year, 36,000. And I think this year, out of the retirement savings and this, they'll even promote over 30,000. On the same note, Madam Speaker, we have the issue that is very important and which teachers have been calling for, especially on the issue of the WIBA and the WIBA and they call this other insurance, where they were really complaining, the accident cover. This is an area which the government has not been able to cover for the last period of years I've been in this sector, over 10 years. And every other time, the Teacher Service Commissions come before and they make a plea on that. The other area which I want to really talk about is the issue of the CBA, that this money covers the CBA for teachers, which they arrived and agreed with the government 2022-2027. It has actually been factored in this particular budget. Lastly is on the universities. The universities, Madam Speaker, is a sector that has grown over the years to be the largest subsector in the education sector. The State Department for University Education has been allocated resources, one, for construction and completion of stalled projects within various universities. I want to laud the State Department this time because they have a fair distribution of development projects across most of the 30 universities. And I think this is going to ensure that projects that are 80–90% complete or are supposed to be completed and be brought to use. This is as a result of movement, or actually as a result of an oversight visit by the Education Committee across all public universities. And we found out that universities that had projects that were 80–90%, we actually asked the department to make sure that resources are allocated to each and every university to complete and bring those buildings to use. Madam Speaker, another allocation that has been done at the State Department for Higher Education is funding for the university's CBA. This has been allocated, the much needed resources, and I think the lecturers and staff will be actually feeling good and laughing all the way to the bank. Immediately we pass these particular estimates in due course, and therefore it will actually make sure that the government honors the CBA of 2017, 2022, and the subsequent years to come by. The other allocation that has been allocated to the universities is the capitation, which now has been given the State Department. However, Madam Speaker, the capitation that has been given has only been awarded to the year 4, 5, 6, the year 5 and 6 universities that are still having the former DUC funding model. The current funding model, most of the students will be actually catered for in the new funding model. And most of the funds are channeled at Higher Education Loans Board and University Funding Board. However, there has been a plea from the Vice Chancellors, and more importantly, from the State Department, that the resources be channeled and be capitated, as it has been over the years, to make ease the implementation of that particular program. Madam Speaker, I also want to thank the Chair Budget, more importantly, and especially on the issues that he has actually captured very well in university education. One of the issues that I think is very important is also ensuring that the universities within our country, and more importantly, the lecturers, have their money. On other issues, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank him because in agriculture, there is a lot of resources that has been given for the fertilizer subsidy. And as most of us are from rural constituencies, I in particular, where my constituents are tea, coffee, and sugar farmers, that particular subsidy is going to go a long way in putting money in the pockets of our farmers. We have the issue of IEBC, we have the issue of roads. The issue of IEBC, I've seen there is a good resource allocation, and this is actually to promote democracy in this country. And we know very well that we are going towards the electioneering period. And the resources that have been given is to enhance the country's, to entrench the country's democratic principles, institutions, and to make sure that the next general election will be done very well. Lastly is on the issue of roads. I want to laud that, and I want to say that this government has done very well, especially in ensuring that contractors go back. One of the biggest projects and a flagship project of this administration is the Mau Summit Rironi Road, which I'm seeing, because that is the road I use when I'm going home, is actually being constructed day and night. And I want to say thank you, Chair Budget, that particular program is running very well, though it's a B&P and it is within the requirements that is sought. I think that is what the government has done very well. I thank you and I support.
The Honorable Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution of Kenya, it is right to stand here and make comments on the budget or the statement, the consideration of the budget statement for the financial year, the report that has been tabled by the Chairperson Budget and Appropriation Committee. Honorable Speaker, for the many years I've been here, At times, the national budgets becomes just a ritual that we have to go through that hardly ever addresses the pertinent issue and the contemporary issues of the day. Unfortunately, due to the prevailing circumstances, the budget estimates we have here today, at no way do they attempt to address the pertinent issues that we have today. They are simply meeting the requirements of the law and to get the government run as is required to do so. Honorable Speaker, from the very basics of macroeconomics, a budget at any given time must dissect what is ailing the country. The budget policy statement was explicitly clear. It picked out what are our challenges, it picked out what are our problems. The Economic Survey 2026 picked out what are our challenges, what are the things that needs to be done to kickstart this economy. Truth be told, and we cannot keep on hiding our head in the sand, the economy is not doing well. That's the plain truth. Anybody who deludes himself the economy is not doing well is probably it's only doing well for those around us, certain people who are the ones who have taken hostage of the money, as they put it in my village. Honorable Speaker, if you have read the economic survey, they are very clear. The issue of reducing per capita income, the stagnant jobs, the low salaries or income, vis-a-vis the increasing cost of living. Honorable Speaker, with non-core inflation, which is the core, standing at 12%, Honorable Speaker, anybody would have expected that the budget for 2026 would have been extremely innovative to make sure we pull Kenyans out of the hardship and the high cost of living and the endemic poverty that pervades many parts of the country. A country that's supposed to be middle income, if we have poverty index in some areas close to 80%, we cannot surely just make it business as usual instead of attending or attempting to address the issues. Honorable Speaker, I have looked at the policy considerations that have been presented by the committee and who have moved my good friend, my neighbor. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, I really expected that the policy direction will stem directly from BPS. We will borrow heavily from country reports by World Bank, IMF, and craft a budget that will kickstart. Unfortunately, I understand I have been in this political space. I do not want to blame the committee. I have been in this political space. I know things how they work. The letter and the spirit of the Constitution says the National Assembly makes the budget and appropriates. But as many will tell you who have held that position, they know reality is different. The exigencies of the day might force you to go elsewhere. Honorable Speaker, if you dissect the structure of this economy, the way the economy is being structured now, we have no room. There is no headroom for us to change the economic status. The only headroom we have is to completely change the structure of this economy. Continuously relying on agriculture. I can see my colleagues are regulating about fertilizer subsidy. If an economy, in the third, middle income economy, if it's still preoccupied with food production, subsistence production, then we would rather accept where we belong and remain there forever. Honorable Speaker, the income, the profit margin from agriculture are very low. And any invested shilling, the marginal income, marginal utility, actually sometimes tends to be negative. We must focus the economy where we need to make sure things move to the right direction. And where does that lie, Honorable Speaker? That lies in making sure the manufacturing sector, the productive sectors, that's manufacturing, mining, value addition, and the service sector, Honorable Speaker, that's where we have refocused this budget to ensure we invest in those areas that realize better returns. Honorable Speaker, what have we done? What have we done? And Kenyans need to understand this. What have we done? Out of a national budget, national government budget of about 2.3 trillion, we have allocated close to 30 billion towards the executive office of the presidency. That includes the office of the president, includes the office of the deputy president, includes the office of the prime cabinet secretary, includes the office of the cabinet, as it's called, cabinet affairs, parliamentary affairs, and includes State House, which Honorable Speaker and the Kenyans need to understand has gobbled up a whopping 13 billion. This ending financial year, because the abuse of Section 223, they actually ended up close to 18 to 19 billion. Yet, Honorable Speaker, when you look at what we have allocated towards enablers of industry is zero. It's negligible. Based on what we can do. Honorable Speaker, it's indeed telling, and we raise this issue. Honorable Speaker, whatever they have told us, this regime has told us they have invested in the manufacturing sector, Honorable Speaker, has been only pumped into brick and mortar, building the kites, EPZA, that literal white elephants. Nobody has expressed any investment. Even the investments were pumped into, since they took office in 2022, the return is negative. And you expect Kenya to achieve Vision 2030 of being the most industrialized country in the next 4 or so years to come. Honorable Speaker, when you go through this, Honorable Speaker, there are